Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the venues. Whether you've joined us here in person or you're watching at home or from the lake, wherever you are today, we're so glad you're here with us. My name's Kim Deal, and I have a few quick announcements for you this morning. When you came inside the auditorium doors, you should have received an announcement sheet. It has lots of great information about what's going on here at Battlefield and all over the community as we outreach to everyone. Also, if you have kiddos birth through 5th grade, we have a great family program, and you can check them in over there just outside in the hallway. They have lots of age-appropriate activities and lessons for those groups. So this week, our Thursday night downtown service at 425 Walnut is an all-music night. Pete and Dave band will be performing for us, so come on down and have an adult beverage and a snack with your Battlefield or your venues family downtown. And then also, next steps. There is a QR code in the seat back in front of you. You can also see it behind me. That can help you get connected to all things venues. You can fill out a prayer request, a welcome card, and all that good information, find out all the other things that are going on, get signed up for our social media. And thanks again for being here.
All right, let's clap for Kim. Good job, Kim. All right, we're going to sing some songs. If you would, stand with us, and we'll do this thing. We're glad that you've joined us this morning.
Your love is strong and mighty. Your love for me unyielding. It burns for me like a fire untamed. Your love is all consuming. You never stop pursuing. Nothing I could face could take it away. Oh, your love, oh, your love is like no other, nothing else satisfies. It flows through the deepest waters, it rests on the mountain high. Your love is overwhelming, brought me to life again. Your love, it lasts forever. In you there'll be no end. Oh, oh, only your love. Oh, oh, only your love. Oh, oh, only your love. Nothing can separate us. Many trials can't hide your love. No sorrow can wash it away. Oh, your love, oh, your love is like no other, nothing else satisfies. It flows through the deepest waters, it rests on the mountain high. Your love is overwhelming, brought me to life again. Your love, it lasts forever. In you there'll be no end. Oh, oh, only your love. Oh, oh, only your love. Oh, oh, only your love. How deep, how wide, how long, how high, how deep, how wide, how long.
flows through the deepest waters. It rests on the mountain high. Your love is overwhelming, brought me to life again. Your love, it lasts forever. In you there'll be no end.
Oh, only your love. Oh, only your love. Oh, only your love.
I've been held by the Savior. I've felt love from above. I've been down to the river. I ain't the same, a prodigal return. All my hope is in Jesus. Thank God that yesterday's gone. Oh, my sins are forgiven, and I am driven by love. I'm no stranger to the prison. I've worn shackles and chains, but I've been freed and forgiven. I'm not going back, I'll never be the same. We're singing, oh, my hope is in Jesus. Thank God that yesterday's gone. Oh, my sins are forgiven, and I am driven by love. All my hope is in Jesus. Thank God that yesterday's gone. All my sins are forgiven, and I am driven by love. And oh, my hope is in Jesus. Thank God that yesterday's gone. Oh, my sins are forgiven, and I am driven by love. And I am driven by love.
I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. I wanna know you, Lord, like I know a friend. I wanna know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. I used to think that I could box you in, but I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord. So I'm laying down all my religion. I'm laying down. I want to know you, Lord, I've been told to be ashamed. Lord, I've been told I don't measure up. Lord, I've been told I'm not good enough, but you're here with me. I reach out and you find me in the dust. You say no amount of untruths can separate us. I reach out and you find me in the dust. You say no amount of untruths can separate us. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord. I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord. So I will rejoice in the simple gospel. I will rejoice in you, Lord.
Good morning, band. It just got really super quiet after that, didn't it? Good morning, you all, too. So, what do you see when you look in the mirror? We all looked in the mirror this morning. As hard as it is, we did. If I could shave without looking in the mirror, I probably would. In her song, Soon You'll Get Better, Taylor Swift writes about her mom's cancer diagnosis. And in this song that the band will do, she uses these words. I know delusion when I see it in a mirror. Sometimes when we're facing a difficult circumstance, we see delusion. Circumstances are for us at times mirrors in which we see versions of ourselves. During the difficult circumstances, sometimes we see a person who is strong, but other times we see a person who is very, very weak. Today we're going to talk about looking into a mirror of self-care and what we see. So as the band plays this song, I know some of you are probably experiencing a sad circumstance, or you have recently done so, or you will be at some point experiencing a sad circumstance in which you see yourself in a very clear way. What do you see of yourself today as God holds up a mirror in front of you? Let's pray, and then the band will sing and we'll receive our offering. God, there are so many distorted mirrors out there. So I ask you today that you will show us a clean, clear reflection of ourselves in your mirror. And that we will see someone who is loved and lovely, who is good and accepted in our very true self. Help us to live out that true self that is reflected in your mirror. Help us to be free of the distorted mirrors that many of us are still looking at from childhood, adolescence, and today as adults. Pray for people today who are going through sad, tough, difficult circumstances. May they see you in these circumstances. May they sense your presence with them, and may they be strengthened. In the name of Christ, I pray. Christ all over this universe. In the name of love, I pray. Amen.
Buttons of my coat were tangled in my hair. In doctor's office lighting, I didn't tell you I was scared. That was the first time we were there. Holy orange bottles, each night I pray to you. Desperate people find faith, so now I pray to Jesus too. And I say to you, ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, you'll get better soon. 'Cause you have to. I know delusion when I see it in the mirror. You like the nicer nurses, you make the best of a bad deal. I just pretend it isn't real. I'll paint the kitchen neon, I'll brighten up the sky. I know I'll never get it, there's not a day that I won't try. And I'll say to you, ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, you'll get better soon. 'Cause you have to. And I hate to make this all about me, but who am I supposed to talk to? What am I supposed to do if there's no you? This won't go back to normal, if it ever was. It's been years of hoping, and I keep saying it because I have to. Ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, you'll get better soon. Ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, soon you'll get better. Ooh, you'll get better soon. 'Cause you have to.
Making us all cry today. That was tough, wasn't it? Yeah. If you're not going through something today, you're sitting by somebody who is. And think about them. Gosh, the hope and the reality, though, that soon you'll get better. Because I think each one of us has been beside someone to whom we said that, but for whom it did not happen. And so hopeful. And hope deferred is discouraging. So think about people today, and in that pain of those circumstances of loss especially, and of caring for someone, sometimes the person who's needing them as much care as the one cared for is the one who is giving the care. Self-care during those times of caring is sometimes neglected. That's what we're talking about today, self-care. It all starts with a thought. I really need a vacation. But sometimes the vacation that we need is a vacation of self-care, of rejuvenation. There's a name for this. It's called wellness tourism. And that idea of wellness tourism is booming. In 2020, the experts say that it was about a $790 million business by 2030. Wellness tourism is going to jump up to $1.8 billion. That's a lottery money there. So today I want us to practice self-care. What is self-care? Well, it is what it sounds like. It's taking care of yourself. Doing good things for you that bring you health, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, and relationally. Now, when some think of self-care, they think of this. I'm just a man in a van in a garage hiding from my kids. Or think of this. 4-year-old knocks on the bathroom door. Where are you? In the bathroom. What are you doing? What do you think? Hiding? Bingo. One study showed that dads will spend 7 hours a year in the bathroom hiding from the kids, or this is the researchers' words, not my words, hiding from their nagging partner. That's never been the case at the Wright House. A British study showed that 4 out of 5 British parents will indeed hide in the bathroom for peace and quiet. Self-care, we all need it. I grew up in a culture that saw self-care as borderline sin. We were all about self-sacrifice. Self-care seemed to be a little egotistical, selfish, narcissistic. Yeah. But I'm evolving, as in so many other ways in my spiritual and theological life. So I want us to look today at this passage. Jesus said to him, to the man who was asking about the greatest command, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. So what do we do with the as yourself part of that? Are we actually supposed to love ourselves? We don't want to be a narcissist. And we have known throughout history particular narcissists. That's not the label I've placed on the people in front of you today. Those are labels that more expert people than myself. See, we are turned off by people who think that they are better than anybody else. We are turned off by people who are self-obsessed. We don't, most of us, don't want to be that way. And so we're afraid of this self-care. We're afraid of putting ourselves in a more important position. I was raised with, maybe you were too, the evangelical world, the JOY way of living, Jesus, others, and then you. And by the time I took care of Jesus and others, there was no time for the why, no time for you, it seems like. And we were just so very much, not overtly told not to have self-care, but it was very strongly implied that self-care was not a value in our religious culture. But this phrase in chapter 22, verse 39, Jesus says, the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Look at that little word, as. Love your neighbor as yourself. That little word, connection word, literally means equal to. So the love of your neighbor is to be equal to the love of yourself. Okay? Maybe it also means the love of myself is to be equal to the love of my neighbor. Doesn't that make sense? Loving your neighbor is equal to loving yourself. So this suggests that we're called to love the self and love the neighbor in exactly the same way. Let's take a look at this. Gary, could you help me with this whiteboard? Thank you. I'll be back. Those of you watching on Facebook. Thank you, Gary. You're always ready to help, aren't you? So, what does your religious background tell you, or your spiritual self today tell you how we are to love our neighbor? Just shoot off some things. What are we told, and what does your heart tell you that should characterize love of neighbor? Respect our neighbor. Okay. Kindness. All right. Honesty. Compassion. What did I hear? I think I heard two at the same time. Friendship. Befriend with your neighbor. I like that. Forgiveness. Oh gosh, we could go on and on. So if this is how we're to love our neighbor, understanding and empathy we could put up there. Okay. I'm supposed to respect myself. I'm supposed to be kind to myself. honest and be a friend to myself and forgive myself. So when Jesus says to forgive others 70 times 7, okay, which is a metaphor for an infinity and beyond, maybe I'm supposed to forgive myself too. Anybody else having a hard time with forgiving yourselves? You continue to beat yourself up? Don't beat yourself up forever, the philosopher Homer says. Beat yourself up once and then move on. If we could only do it once, and maybe we shouldn't even do it once. Just let that go. Can anybody quote the golden rule? Don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if you want to volunteer, we'll listen to you. Exactly. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, who said that? It's not a trick question. We're in church, so who else would have said it? Yeah, the answer to everything in church is always Jesus. So Jesus did say that. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. But the next question is, who said it first? Not Jesus. You know, the scholars tell us that this principle of doing to others as you would have them do to you was first articulated about 2,000 years before Christ, BC, or as we say today, BCE, by an Egyptian queen, Mahat. 2,000 years before Jesus said it, it was being said. In the 6th century BC, Buddha made this principle of doing to others as you would have them doing to you the cornerstone of his system of ethics. Wow. So when we quote doing to others, it's as okay to see that as a Christ-like ethic. But it goes beyond the 33 years of a Jesus person. It transcends one particular religion. Let me ask you this. What do these religions have in common? Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Baha'i, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Zoroastrianism, Wicca, and humanism? Anybody want to guess what they have in common? The golden rule. They all value the golden rule. The golden rule is a part of every one of those systems of belief. Now, what that tells me, if that principle of ethics and of treating people and the mutuality of others and myself and me with others and others with me is found in every religion, found in every non-religious system. Now, I'm going to say something. Somebody gave me today a little cute, well, Gary did, that back in the back, a joke gift. I love joke gifts. It's a can of gummy worms or a jar of gummy worms, and the label is a jar of worms. And I said, well, what's the purpose of this? Are we going fishing again? He said, no, but you're always opening a can of worms. So here's a can of worms. Oh, gosh. A belief in God. Now, this is only my understanding, and it could be totally screwed up. But a belief in God is not necessary to endorse or to practice the golden rule. I think that the universe, that love, that God, as Paul Tillich says, the ground of all being, whatever name you'd want to give that, writes into the universe this golden rule, regardless of what faith label you have or don't have. Now, all religions may endorse it, or most religions may endorse it. Not all religions practice it. I grew up in a religion that didn't practice it, but we endorsed it. I endorse it, and I don't always practice it. But I will say this. It's my understanding that any religion that does not make this golden rule, the mutuality of the golden rule, the focus of their faith, can easily and probably does become toxic and deadly. Treat each other the way we want to be treated, and treat ourselves the way we know we should treat others. Kindness and honesty and friendship and forgiveness and empathy and understanding and compassion. So to be good to others, is it true that to be good to others, I have to be good to myself? I have a few battles with self-esteem and getting down on myself and beating myself up. And I've noticed, sadly, that whenever I feel down on myself, I do not present to Denise a very loving presence. When I am beating myself up, I lost my wallet last week, and I panicked for 4 hours until somebody found it on a parking lot and turned it in, which love that person, and everything was still in it. But during those 4 hours, I tried to access my truer self, but sometimes my false, insecure self, and I began to have negative self-talk. You idiot! Why did you not take better care, and why weren't you more responsible? You're just so stupid sometimes. But I discovered that when I beat myself up and talk negatively about myself, I'm just not very a loving person to be around, and the ripple effect of that obviously catches Denise and anybody else that's in the lake with me at that time. And when I'm down on myself and I don't have a loving presence to her, I find myself impatient with Denise, and I find myself kind of overly sensitive. I'm sensitive anyway, but overly sensitive where she would say something and I would interpret it as a criticism or something, something negative. And my body language gets real stiff, I'm kind of resistant. And it has nothing to do with Denise. It has everything to do with my self-care and not being understanding and forgiving and not treating myself as my own friend. Well, I've got a long way to go on that. Maybe you do too. And it's a spiritual thing to do that. I don't think it's a sinful thing at all. So what I'm learning is to love myself, I've got to get the right mirror. We can't think about a mirror without thinking of Snow White. Day after day, the queen boldly and confidently stood in front of the mirror and asked the question, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" And every day without fail, the mirror would answer, even though the queen was foul, the mirror would say, "You are the fairest of them all." Then one fateful morning, the queen got the shock of her life when she asked the question, and she got a different answer. It's not you, queen. The fairest of them all is Snow White. What's interesting about that part of the story is that the image of the queen, the face of the queen, never changed. What changed was the mirror's perception. No longer did the mirror perceive the queen to be the fairest of them all. The queen didn't change a bit, but the mirror did. And the spiritual lesson I'm taking away from that is that I'm just like the queen. I'm drawn to mirrors. I'm mesmerized, in fact, maybe you are too, by what those mirrors say to me and about me. Unfortunately, some of those mirrors tell us that we're not the fairest of them all. Instead, we see mirrors and we hear mirrors judging us all the way from childhood through adolescence to adulthood. Mirrors telling us that we're fat, frumpy, and failures. Two families have sued the Meta company, Facebook and Instagram, for fueling eating disorders and mental health issues in their children, their teenagers. And these two that came out last week are just kind of two more in the long list of lawsuits that are linking the social media platforms to mental health illnesses. Because these platforms become mirrors in which we see a reflection, and we interpret that reflection in the words and in the thoughts of those social platforms. Maybe y'all saw in the news several months ago, the Facebook papers, a whistleblower in Facebook released the internal documents of Facebook, and those documents were very incriminating to the Facebook people, the Meta people, and they admitted that we make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls. Now, Meta is not the only source of a distorted mirror. This past week, Pope Francis has been on an apology tour in Canada to the indigenous people especially and particularly of Canada, because from the late 1800s to the 70s to the 1970s, thousands upon thousands, it's estimated that 150 to 200,000 indigenous peoples from Canada were stolen basically from their homes and forced to live in and attend Catholic institutions. And they were victims of cultural genocide, physical and sexual abuse. Many of those children went missing. Their graves are just now recently being discovered. In this video, one of these victims remembers what it was like as a child in those religious institutions and the mirror that those religious institutions held up in front of him. Take a look. Often ask me if I believe in hell, and I said, yeah, I do. But I talk about it in terms of what this gentleman says. People are living through hell. And what's tragic about this story is that a religion put people through hell. Claiming to save people from hell, they were creating a living hell. One victim who as a child was subject to the sexual, physical abuse, said this about that experience: the only thing I learned in religious school was how to hate myself. So let me ask you another personal question, and I want to hear your response. Am I too far for the camera? You good? Are you just getting the table? Okay. So those of us who were raised in a religious institution, the church held up a mirror in front of you in Sunday school class, in youth group, or as a pastor or the preacher in his sermons or her sermons. And when the church held up a mirror, what image of yourself did you see reflected in that mirror? Good or bad? If you feel so inclined. What was that? Fear? Okay. Dirty? What was over here? I missed missed one. Then I heard one over here. Hate. Inferior. Thank you, niece. Okay. Oh. Oh my gosh, we could go on and on, couldn't we? Do you hear and do you feel the pain? The church is the healing hands of God, the healing hands of Jesus. But too many people, it sounds like, have come and experienced church life, and instead of feeling healed, there has just been the infliction of hurt, and hurt. And I think the church has just absolutely, when I say the church, I don't excuse myself at all. I include myself. But the church has, instead of healing people, we have inflicted upon people pain and damage that they have seen from their own reflection of the mirrors. So self-care starts with getting a new mirror. The mirror of God that sees you. Yeah, he sees our stuff and he sees our fears and he sees our hurts and how we express those hurts in unhealthy and hurtful ways to others. But when God looks at us, it's my sincere, genuine conviction at this stage of my life that God sees you as good, lovely, lovable, capable of love, worthy of love, pure, innocent. The Latin word innocent literally means unhurt. And when an innocent person becomes a guilty person, maybe the innocence has gone to guilt because there's been hurt. And I am so saddened by the fact that the church, through its message, has been the source of woundedness and hurt in people's lives. And it's my desire to the end of my life to hold up a mirror to everyone, whether I'm having a beer, a glass of wine, a cup of tea, or teaching on a Sunday morning, to hold up a mirror to that person so they can see I am loved, and I am lovable, and I am worthy, and I am good. And out of that I will live according to that identity. So self-care starts with getting a new mirror. Self-care also happens when we set boundaries. Boundaries, talk about those. What is a boundary? Healthy boundaries can be your best self-care. Without boundaries, we feel taken advantage of, taken for granted, imposed upon. I love this title of an article that I read about boundaries. Why you should focus on boundaries, not just bubble baths or hiding in the bathroom. It's easy to take a bubble bath and it's a temporary relief. Setting boundaries is hard work and it's a more permanent way of self-care. One of the best books I've ever read on any topic is a book on boundaries. And I read it back in my older days, Boundaries, when to say yes and how to say no, to take control of your life. Now, some people have no regard for boundaries at all. They're just always in your space. And when you say no to working late because you are exhausted, you're setting a healthy boundary. When you put your phone on Do Not Disturb because you want to spend some time with your family, or you just want to spend some time by yourself reading a book, taking a walk, watching a movie, you're setting a healthy boundary. When you say no to things that you really just don't want to do, that's a healthy boundary. When you walk out of a room because someone is continually yelling at you, you're setting a healthy boundary, and that's harder to do than to take a bubble bath. Setting boundaries results in emotional, physical, relational care. Boundaries on social media, boundaries on shopping, boundaries on people are all part of good care. Girl named Ashley Joss had made a commitment to read more books. So she went to Target, bought a book, came home, opened it up, started to read. Her dog barked. And she was kind of alarmed by that, so she threw her book aside to see what the dog was barking about. And when she threw her book to the side, a note and a $5 bill dropped out of the book. This is what the note said. To the person who buys this book, I'm having a tough day. I thought maybe I could brighten someone else's with this little surprise. So go buy a coffee, a donut, or a face mask. Practice some self-care today. Remember that you are loved, you are amazing, you are strong, Lisa. And Ashley did what we all would do. She posted it on social media, and it motivated people to give their version of a $5 bill and an encouraging note to somebody. But Lisa, who wrote this note and left this money, helps me sum up what I'm wanting to say today. And that is, number one, I want us to leave looking into the right mirror. A mirror that says you are loved, you are amazing, you are strong. That is a true mirror. Anything else is distorted. But Philip, I don't act loved, and I don't act strong, and I don't act amazing. I do some silly things. I know, I do too, but in your heart, in your core, in your true self, that's who you are. And that's what God sees and what God's mirror reveals. When our behavior doesn't match our identity, we admit it, take responsibility for it, ask forgiveness for it, and go back to living our true self. But then Lisa helps us understand looking into the right mirror, but then loving others, even the stranger. Self-care and care for others go hand in hand. I don't think I can be kind to others until I'm kind to myself. And being kind to myself helps me be kind to others, hopefully vice versa. So, go love yourself. Go love your neighbor. Christ, help us do that. All right, we got 5 minutes. We don't want to go home just yet. Do y'all have a question? Denise, if you want to come up, we got time for a couple of questions, and you don't have to just ask a question about self-care. You can ask a question about how we did the abortion statement from a couple weeks ago, whatever. Thank you, Barbie. Denise and I were not able to go to our vacation last week. A friend of mine in Little Rock died last week, and she had asked if I would do her funeral. And so we went to Little Rock last Friday, and I did her funeral on Saturday. And so we canceled our vacation. But one of the things that Debbie, my friend, had said, her last words type of thing, is good for us today. That is, be sure and spend time with people who give you joy. That's self-care. That's boundaries. And I look at all of you. There may be an exception. There's not. But I find joy in so many of you and all of you. I just haven't had time to spend with all of you. But there are
Now
some.
you're just getting sappy.
You want to go back and sit down? I'm trying to wind this up. I'm
People
trying to
have-
stall.
You
They
don't
actually
need
have
to stall.
questions.
That, yeah.
I am sappy, aren't I?
No. I just wanted to share one of my favorite mantras. This is someone. I
Good.
think it's from Henry Nouwen.
Nouwen,
Thank
yeah.
you. Today I choose to listen to God and let Him, her define who I am.
Oh, thank you for that. Whatever Henry Nouwen writes, buy it. Yeah. My gosh. A Catholic priest. And I just thank you for that, whoever sent that.
Here's another one. Just a thought. Maybe those in the religions that teach themselves to think of others first and put others first are treating others as they treat themselves. They are loving others as they love themselves. They are judging themselves and burying themselves in deep holes of sin and death. Why not bury others in that same hole?
Oh, wow. You guys are really philosophical, deep.
This one asks, have you ever seen a miracle?
Well, my gosh. Denise married me.
You're so bad.
I did see one thing that would actually qualify in some people's minds as a miracle. But yeah, I prayed for a guy to be healed, and he was actually healed. The doctor came in and said, I don't get this. So, yeah, one time. But you're the greatest miracle right there, huh? Sappy Phil.
If people can hate for no reason, I can love for no reason.
Gosh, you all are good. These are refrigerator magnets up
Yeah.
here.
What advice would you give to someone trying to overcome those self-hatred thoughts that were learned in those toxic religious beliefs?
Oh,
I was going to
gosh.
ask you that, what you do to talk yourself out of, depression or sadness from.
From those toxic images.
Yes.
My first recommendation is always a good therapist. And I'm gonna open up a can of worms again. Get a dog. That's not the can of worms. That's good advice right there. Yeah, get a dog. That does help. That's proven to be that. But get a good therapist, and a good therapist is not necessarily a Christian therapist. And that's the can of worms. Some of the best therapy that I have seen in the religious abuse setting would be from people who really don't put the word Christian in front of their word therapy. Denise, you and I, did we grow up much with these negative images from the mirrors of church?
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned the sinner. You're sinful. You're a sinner. You never achieve, or you're just born that way. You're just born so terrible, and but yet,
Yeah,
those were probably the number one
yeah.
talks that we received.
One of the
from
values that I have
youth
today
ministers.
in relation to that is another can of worms. I'm just opening them all up. I don't believe in original sin. I don't believe that we were born sinners. I believe that we were in what is called, not original with me, I read this from Father Rohr, original blessing. And if we operate out of original blessing, I think that counters some of these religious toxic messages that we've received. Yeah. Okay, it's 11 o'clock.
That's a whole nother sermon, though.
Yeah. Thank you all so
Thanks
very
for
much.
coming today,
I appreciate it.
joining
Joey,
us. Yeah.
thank you, sir.
You got one.
I guess I have this one. Okay, cool. Well, first thing we're going to do is say goodbye to our online audience. So thank you for joining us this morning in your pajamas, and we're glad that you're with us. For the rest of us, before I get into some of the other messages, I can't remember what slide is next. You're